Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, Season 4, where we are focusing on mastery. The last 3 seasons, I gave you the information. Now, we're focusing on integrating it into our lives and embodying it. If you are ready to master your thoughts, emotions, and patterns to feel whole, fulfilled, and really grounded in who you are without dimming your shine so you can live the abundant life that you truly desire, then you are in the right place. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? Okay, we have a special episode today. So I have Emery here to talk about alpha men. So this is going to be a really interesting topic. But before we dive into what the alpha man is and everything that you do, because I want you to tell a little bit about who you are and what you have going on, I want to ask you, what does abundance mean to you?
Abundance, so you tripped me up last time when I was on your show. You asked me what it meant to me. And I believe that abundance is just the representation of the presence of all that is needed for you and the ability for you to have even more of a full cup to give to others. So everything that you need, in addition to that, just whatever is needed for you to supply the world with your gifts and everything. So I believe that abundance is just flowing uh the ever flowing ability to just always have enough.
I love it. I love it. So tell the M&Ms about you, and you have a podcast as well. I was on your
Yes.
podcast. So give a little
Yes.
background before we dive into this deep topic.
All right. So my name is Emery, Coach Emery. I am a mindset coach and business consultant, NLP certified, hypnosis certified, all the boring stuff. I
So
am
boring.
Oh, it's just boring because it's titles. I don't like titles. But have to share the titles. But I am the host of This is the Good Stuff, the host of the Coach Emery Show. It is a talk show, a 2022 talk show. And it was the Thinking Out Loud podcast, and I've converted it from a podcast to a talk show. And I'm the host of that. I get to interview amazing people like yourself. I get to really just dive in and give my personal take on just common things in the world and different perspectives. So that's what I do really. I help people shift their focus to make sure that they are living in the life that they really desire. And I allow, help men and women who are really overcoming the obstacle of their mind to get out of their way and get in the path of their greatness.
I love it. I love it. So Emery and I were having a conversation today because I was fired up about this book that I just read. And so he was dropping some knowledge because I was sharing my perspective of this book that I am reading. And he had some really good points. And I'm like, we need to get on a podcast episode and just talk about this because this is a huge thing. So, to give a little background, I started a YouTube show with 2 of my single friends called Crack the Code. And we've been talking about like the alpha man and all of the things that are wrong with dating. And I went on a date and I asked the guy the last book he read, and he said, The Unplugged Alpha. And so I'm like, oh Lord, here we go, because there's this craze of like alpha men that is kind of borderline toxic masculinity. And let me just say, there's definitely toxic independence and toxic, feminine qualities. So what I want to do is go into this topic being very neutral. And when I read the book, I wanted to be very open minded. So, not everything in the book is bad, but I really want to break it down like piece by piece. And we're going to actually go through the 20 red flags. And and if you're not watching the video, I'm like air quoting everything.
Yes, all air quotes.
I'm a little fired up. So, when Niajae gets fired up, it's gonna be intense. So anyway, I was like, you know what? I really want to read this book because I want to understand where men are. And there's no question, wherever you live in the country, wherever you live in the world, like dating is hard right now. Dating, marriage, it's all difficult. And so before I really speak out about it on this dating show, Crack the Code, I want to understand where men stand. And so I'm like, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to go into it with a very open mind. Now, we've had conversations about, you're laughing. We had conversations about Kevin Samuel, so RIP, and he talks about a high value man. And so basically, an alpha man is a high value man. And I did a little bit of research today before we hopped on this podcast interview. And Kevin Samuel's idea of a high value man was a six-figure man. Now, I think that a high value man, like, it's way more than money, because money comes and goes, especially if you're a business owner. You could easily get laid off of a job. So, like, money should not be a determining factor of what a high value man is. So that's just one part of it. And I know that Kevin Samuels was definitely a very controversial person, so we're not going to talk about him, but I just wanted to mention that's where I first heard the term high value man. And so we'll just move on past him. But with this book, The Unplugged Alpha, it's by Richard Cooper. So my first initial thought when I first started listening to it is he has some trauma. So he's gone through some traumatic events, and I am someone that believes in alchemizing your pain and alchemizing your trauma to help other people. So I'm all about it. I'm all about empowering others so they don't go through the same thing that you go through. So not everything in the book is bad. However, there are some things that are very hypocritical and contradictory. So one of the things that I will say, there's three things that I think that he's giving some good advice. So one of the things he kept saying is, like, trust your gut, trust your instinct. So you guys know with the work that I do, I'm all about intuition and trusting your gut. So I want to make sure that if any man is actually reading this book, take what he says with a grain of salt. If it fits, if it resonates, cool. If it doesn't, let it go. Like, if you follow this as like a framework and like you're following every single one of these red flags and you actually want to be in a relationship, it's not going to work for you. Period. End of story. So follow your gut, trust your instinct when it comes to listening to this type of material, because Richard Cooper went through some bad situations with marriages and the mother of his children and dating other women with children. So when someone that has had trauma is like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, a lot of it comes from a place of trauma. And, you know, when a person hasn't fully healed and recovered from their trauma, sometimes it's the blind leading the blind. Now, I think that I'm someone where I'm still doing my work. We're always going to be doing work, but I'm not someone that says, okay, follow my framework and don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I'm like, here's some tips and see what feels good for you and choose that. But he does say that. So this is where the contradictory part comes in. He says, like, don't date this woman with this red flag, don't even do it. But then he's like, but follow your gut. So it's a little contradictory. So it's like, present your red flags of like, this is the type of woman I will not date anymore, and then say follow your gut. If this resonates with you, you know, that's my personal opinion. And then he does say, because I was talking to the girls on Crack the Code, and they're like, you know, any type of playbook on like how to get more women is just bad, you know. He does say in the book that your purpose for working on yourself should never be for a woman. You should do it for you, which is good advice.
Right.
So it's not all bad. It's definitely not all bad. And then he does focus on self-care, which I love. He's like, if you want to be a high value man or an alpha man, it's important that you focus on your self-care. If you're balding and you have a beer belly and you're not keeping up with your testosterone levels, like, that's not going to be good. Like, you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your health, you're learning. He talks about joining like some martial arts something, and you know, so there are some good tips of like how a man could really take care of himself. So the book is, I think, overall not a horrible book for a man to read. However, There is some bad advice. So one of the bad advice, I just have to say, he actually recommends that a man ask a woman to get their name tattooed on their body. I'm just like, what? And this is a determining factor if she's actually into you. And then, so I think that's awful advice. I would never tattoo a man's name on my body. Like, I wouldn't. That doesn't mean I'm not into a man. I would never tattoo a man's name on my body, ever. Ever. I'm not a huge tattoo person. I have a cute little tattoo. It's tiny. You probably will never see it, but I would never tattoo a man's name on my body. Period. End of story. Like, this could be the love of my life and I want to marry him and grow old with him. I would never get his name on my body. Period. And then he also talks about this like burning desire. If a woman doesn't sleep with you on the first or second date, she doesn't have a genuine burning desire for you. So we're going to get into that when we get into the red flags. So before we dive into the 20 red flags, what are your thoughts, Emery, on this?
So, I mean, there's a lot of information out there about what a certain type of person is, right? High value, alpha, all these things. There's so many, I don't even want to call them just there's so many things that people are saying, and they're all supposed to be the way to go, right? And there's a lot of men who are looking to figure out, what kind of man should I become? What kind of man am I? What kind of man am I based on the things that I've been doing in my life? And what kind of man am I based on the women I've dated? So there's a lot of questions that men have, and some of them haven't had men in their lives to answer these questions. So they turn to people like the person, author of this book, or Kevin Samuels, or other people online who are given their version of reality. And their version of reality can only be based on their personal experience and the experiences of people around them that they've done research on, but it doesn't encompass all men. It doesn't encompass all men from all walks of life, right? Depending on where they're from, what type of lifestyle they're in, they may be getting a perspective from a certain type of guy that's not going to resonate with every man. So just like anything, like you said, take it with a grain of salt. But I think that trust your gut is a huge takeaway from that book, right? Trust your gut in all things. Now, the other thing is, though, where you start to say what are red flags. Red flags are different for everybody, right? Your red flags may be different than my red flags. So, it's 11:44 right now, East Coast time. That could be a red flag for somebody. Like, why are you doing a podcast at 11:44 at night? That could be, I'm just saying, anything could be a red flag. And there's so many red flags. There's a billion red flags. So you can't let someone else tell you what your red flags are. That's really what I'm getting at. It's when you trust your gut, that also encompasses your red flags. So it kind of negates a lot of the information that we're being given, because if everything in my gut says go at this situation, but the book says these are all red flags, how do I proceed? So I think as we get into more of the specific topics that come up, I'll be able to share more of my perspective on it.
And just FYI, I normally do not film podcast episodes this late, but someone had me waiting.
I don't know who
Since
that
you want to
person
put the
is.
time on blast.
No, I'm just saying, like, somebody may, just
No,
everything could be
I
a
get
red
it.
flag,
I get it. Yeah, and yes. So the thing about it is, Richard Cooper is not looking for a serious relationship per se. He's been married, he has kids. At this point in his life, he just wants what he considers women that are plate status. So plate status is where, like, when you go see like a Cirque show and they're spinning plates on this like long stick. So plate status is where you're keeping a woman at arm's length. And the other term he used is FWB, so friends with benefits. So you have to really think about like what you want. And when I say you, this actually goes for men and women. Like being really clear on what you want. And one thing that I always talk about on this podcast is identifying your individual values. Like, what are your top 3 values? And if a family is something that you value, if a solid relationship is something that you value, don't listen to advice from someone who doesn't want a family or a relationship,
Right.
or partnership on that level. So that's definitely something really important to think about. Like, if you are a man that's like, I do want to meet the love of my life, I do want to get married, I do want a family, this is not the person to take advice from, personally. I think if you are trying to just be a successful man that plays the field and has a whole bunch of women, this is your guy, you know? Which to each their own, to each their own. So, what I'm going to do is share my screen and we're going to pull up these 20 red flags and go through them one by one because they are interesting. So let's do this. So if you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple Podcast, the video will be on YouTube if you want to check it out. But really, there's nothing fancy to see here. It's literally just text of the 20 red flags. All right, let's dive in. Are you ready, Emery?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, red flag number 1, daddy issues. Okay, so here's the thing. Here is the thing. Now, I just want to say, like, I'm fired up because this is such a good topic, but I'm not triggered by any of this. And the reason why I'm not triggered by any of this is because I do my work. I have not one, but 2 therapists. I have a business therapist and a regular therapist. So I've done my work on my daddy issues. And I actually was talking to the guy I went on a date with that read the book and told me about the book. I was like, to be honest, I honestly feel like my mother wound was more impactful and harder for me to get over. So I feel like this is an overgeneralization of what a woman could be going through mentally or emotionally. So daddy issues is just such a common term. Like, if a woman has had an absent dad, like, obviously she's going to have abandonment issues, but abandonment issues can come from like her first husband leaving her. Like, abandonment issues can literally come from anything. So this is such a overgeneralization. And what I do want to say about this, and Emery, you mentioned it earlier, what I do want to say about this is, before you judge a woman for having daddy issues, look at your daddy issues. And did you have a solid masculine figure in your life? And are you looking to someone like Richard Cooper or Kevin Samuels for guidance on how to be a man? So I think that there's so many layers. There's so many layers. How do you feel about red flag number 1?
So for me, red flag number 1, like I was sharing with you earlier, and like you just said, I believe that a lot of the men who are looking for this information, right? It kind of goes without saying that if you're looking for this information from a guy to show you how to be a man, you kind of have to already have your own daddy issues. So it's kind of weird to me that this is a red flag when, just based on the information that you told me about the book, I haven't got a chance to read the book because I found out about the book today. But just telling, like, you're not looking to settle down, you're looking to be in multiple situations, but one of your conditions is that they have to get their name tattooed. Now, a question about that is this: so now, how possessive is that? Like, I mean, that's daddy issue, like red flag for me, in my opinion. I feel like that really sets the tone for this right here. And let's just go a little bit further into what I was saying about just the men who are seeking this information. This doesn't make you a bad guy. If you're looking for information, that makes you a great guy because you're looking to find a way to become a better man, right? So that doesn't make you bad that you're looking for the information. That's actually commendable. Kudos to you, and I applaud you for that. But when you find information that is polarizing like this, you have to ask yourself, is this person healed? Is this person healed? Is this person whole? And does this person give you information that's going to give you the life that you really want? So like Niajae said earlier, is this person looking to accomplish the same goals as you? Are you looking for a partner, a life partner? Are you looking to just be a person who has wealth and has a bunch of women around? Because you really don't need a book for that. That's something you can do naturally with men with status and money and power attract lots of women. You really don't need a book for that per se. So when you're looking for these things, I believe that the men that are looking to narrow down the type of woman they should be choosing to have in their lives. So having daddy issues, to me, I mean, it can be something that can be worked on, but I wouldn't say it's red flag, and definitely not red flag number one. It's something that you want to understand. Okay, am I emotionally aware of where I am enough to be present for a woman who has this type of issue? That's the first question, right? Like she said earlier, she's done the work. She has a therapist, she has a business therapist and a personal therapist. That doesn't change the fact that you can still be triggered at some point because you're human. So if you have someone who's resolved their daddy issues, and then let's say you're in a conversation and something comes up and it triggers you, now what does this mean? Does this mean, oh, it's a red flag because now something that you've healed yourself from still resonates in your spirit and in your body some kind of way? Like, you can't really ever say that something is 100% resolved, right? It's just you found better ways to deal with it. So I think that this one to me is kind of like fluff, because this pretty much covers most people. Like, if you look at the last one, right, he really covers all people. Whether the mother pushed him out the house, he was absent, or he was disinterested in being a dad and instead acted as a piece of furniture. Like, this means the only way you don't have daddy issues is if your dad was just like this perfect person, right? Fully engaged, also a provider, all these things. Like, this is a lot of, this is leaving a very fine line for people. Like, who doesn't have this issue based on this description of the issue? So, to me, my opinion on this red flag is I really wouldn't give it much credibility to me.
Yeah. I honestly think that I honestly think that a lot of this comes from ego and maybe his own abandonment issues, because if you have this fear is easily controlled. So if you have this fear, if you date a woman with any of these red flags, she's going to leave you, which is a common theme in the book. I mean, check out your own abandonment issues.
Right.
Like, so it's kind of like a little hypocritical. Um, I feel, but I think that this was a really good conversation because the guy I went on a date with did ask me about my parents. And I think that I had a lot of shame. And obviously the work that we do is continuous. So, shame is something that it takes time to like fully accept. I had a lot of shame around my parents, but we cannot control our parents. So you want to basically not date a woman because she has no control over who her mom slept with, and like what her mom did. I wasn't even around when they were dating. So it's like, why would I be held accountable for that? Now, he does say later on about, he does say in the book something about like, get to know her mom because she's going to turn into her one day. Like, no. So that's another thing I've done a lot of therapy on is not turning into my mom. So it's like, if men just follow this, they miss out on amazing women, because not all amazing women are going to turn out like their mom. Not all women with daddy issues are hot and cold. I mean, you can get a hot and cold woman whether like her dad is her freaking best friend. So it's an oversimplification that I think is really going to hurt men. Like, if they actually follow this, it's going to hurt men in finding the woman of their dreams. So that's what I feel.
Can I say something else about number one,
Yeah.
please?
Yes.
If you by chance find that woman who does not have daddy issues, that does not have um that red flag number one, and they had a great relationship with their dad and they still have a great relationship with their dad, good luck manipulating her. Good luck getting her to tattoo your name on her, because she's not for the play, right? She has a man who told her the game, told her the things, right? He's involved and active in her life to the point where she knows what a good guy seems like, acts like, how he carries himself. So these the things that are in the book as far as, tattooing your name and all of this stuff, all these disqualifying factors, she's already built up and established her worth based on the reassurance and support from her father. So good luck trying to pull one over on her. I know a lot of women who are really close with their dads, and they're not with the games. They're not with the games at all because they instilled that in them. So you're not getting their names tattooed. They're not getting your name tattooed. They're not doing that because they have a guy already who showed them what their value is. If you can't step in and replace that value, you may as well skip the book.
Yeah. So if you are following this, like red flag by red flag, and you do want to pursue a woman that has a great relationship with her dad, you're gonna have to step it up even more.
Exactly. And
That's
you're
what I
not going
got
to
from
be,
what you just said.
yeah, and you're definitely not going to be just flinging,
Yeah.
For the most part. I don't see a lot of those women being women that are looking to just be flings, and then if anything else, they also know how to game you too. So really good luck, right?
Yeah.
I'm a girl dad, and my daughters, you're not gonna play them, but they know, they know more than someone who didn't have a father around. They know what not to look for. They know what things I've done, and I've explained to them why I've done these things, and some of the things and mistakes that I've made. I've explained to them what those things are, what they look like, and what to look for if you feel like you're experiencing that. So that's what having an actual dad around looks like. He's going to put you on the game. He's not going to let you go out here and date guys and not be aware of people like this, or people who will give you information and try to belittle you, and then now you're their puppet. We're not doing that. So as a girl dad, no, nah.
Yeah. Now, I will say, because my intention is definitely not to come on here and bash the book, so I will say what you can take out of this first red flag is that if you choose to date a woman, knowing where her mental and emotional health is a good thing. If she has awareness around her own trauma, and she has awareness around how abandonment issues can show up, if she has awareness around her attachment style, so having an absent parent definitely develops your adult attachment style. If she has awareness around that, that's a great thing. If she doesn't, to me, that's a red flag. So when I decided to do this podcast episode, it wasn't to come on and bash. It was to come on and clarify that ultimately these are not, like, the book isn't horrible. But I want to clarify, like, some of this is coming from ego, his own fear, his own trauma, his own abandonment issues. And so let's clarify and find the gold that is in the book. So I think when it comes to the first red flag of daddy issues, like, if a woman has awareness around her own trauma and she is doing the work to better herself for herself, not for a man, and she understands her adult attachment style, that's actually a great thing. That's a great thing. If she doesn't, and she has abandonment issues, and she's constantly trying to break up with you and push you away, I mean, it is a red flag, but not because she has daddy issues, but because she doesn't have awareness around her own trauma and adult attachment style. So just pointing out the good in what he's saying, clarifying that first red flag.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as to say, there is, like she said, there is some good in each of these steps, each of these flags. There are some really valid points. Talking about it on a high level quickly, it's not going to be, from my perspective, I'm really kind of looking at it as, a man who sought out these kind of, information and things like that. I've done this similar search to see what kind of man should become, and what, things like that. So I'm not bashing the book at all, because again, I haven't fully read the book, so I'm only going off of these particular red flag sections. So please don't take what I'm saying as me saying the book is not recommendable. I'm not saying it at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I said that in the beginning. You know, there's definitely some good points and some bad points, and that's why I wanted to come on here and share my opinion about all of it. Like, I mean, I think that a man, like you said in the beginning, a man that is seeking out some type of self-development is actually a great thing. And I just want to say, you know, make sure that you are clear on what you hope to get out of it. And if you want a relationship, you want a partnership, you want a soulmate and the love of your life, you want a family, just take some of this with a grain of salt. So, red flag number 2 is feminist. So, this one was a little, I think, Emery, when I hit you up, I was like, he mentioned purple hair.
Yeah, you were a little you were a little hot about that part.
Okay, so I definitely have purple hair. However, I am not a feminist. And, you know, that's hard for me to say on my podcast because I think some of my feminist friends and listeners and colleagues are going to be like, what? But I'm not a feminist. So just because a woman has purple hair, he specifically says, think bright colored hair, so blue, purple, or red, are typically feminist. That is a stereotype that's not true. So, what he believes in feminists is that feminists hate men and they want to be the men that they can't get or whatever. So it's kind of one of those things where he believes that feminists are trying to devalue men, crush them, destroy them, and we don't need men, you know, like if we could reproduce without men, burn them all. Like, that is his opinion of feminists. So I'm just like, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But don't judge someone with purple hair.
I agree. I agree 100% with that. And I think that I mean even I don't want to defend anything, but when you think feminist, right, you have to look at where that comes from. Where that comes from, and it comes from a long, long, long time of not being heard, not being seen, and by who, right? By men. So if you live in a society where you're not being heard or being seen, you're not being paid equally, you're not being treated fairly, you're not getting the compensation for a job that's being done the same, it's going to push you to a polarizing side. You're going to pick a side. And so there is some kind of, you know, legitimacy to this argument. And I can, I can understand that it's no different than any other group of people being ousted and then feeling like, we have to create our own thing. So I kind of get where that's coming from, but I don't think that there's any one way to define or understand or identify like, oh, she's a feminist because she looks like this or wears this. And I mean, let's just jump into why you have purple hair in the first place, right? First of all, let's just be real about the work you do. You do spiritual work and chakra work, and that's colors right there. Number one, let's jump into that. Number two, what people may not know about you or you don't talk about maybe as often, you are a musician at heart, right? You're a creator, you're an artist. So artists express through their physical appearance before they even express through their art. So you're missing out on a super dope situation because you see hair and think feminist instead of thinking, hey, let me ask why she has purple hair. Let me ask why she does this thing. So again, looking at it in that way, you're closing off the possibility of finding something dope. And to me, I feel like when you limit yourself and you generalize, you're always going to be wrong because you can't, no one's ever going to 100% fit any mold. So that's my take on that. And I'm going to leave the rest of that alone because it's a very touchy red flag right there. I don't even
Yeah.
want to jump into the rest of that. But what I will say is find out why a person is wearing what they're wearing, and it's a conversation piece. Why not have that conversation? Why are you wearing your hair that color? And you might find out something you have no idea about
Yeah.
that the book didn't cover.
Yeah, it's really important not to judge a book by its cover. I know that's like one of the oldest sayings in the book. It's one of the oldest sayings, but it really is important not to judge a book by its cover. And, you know, he says a lot in the book, like, if you come across this woman, basically, like, don't try to get serious with her. She's plate status is how he describes it, or friends with benefits. And so one of the things that I felt hearing him, I listened to the audiobook. One of the things that I felt hearing him is like, so if the typical alpha man listens to this and follows this works against me on dating apps, for example, because they've already made a snap judgment about who I am based on my hair color. However, I'm not changing my hair color. I did have a guy tell me that it was an old friend from Atlanta. We're no longer friends. I did have him say, like, the man that you want may not want to date a woman with purple hair. That's not the man for me, because like you said, I am an artist, and I'm being that I own a brick and mortar business right now. Owning a brick and mortar business can get very monotonous and tedious doing all of the back end. The purple connects me to my artist. I cannot look in a mirror and forget that I am an artist, and I was an artist first. Like that is what lights my soul on fire: art, beauty, creation. And so my purple hair reminds me that I'm an artist first, before a business owner, before, you know, an entrepreneur or coach or sound healer. So my purple hair is very important to me. It has nothing to do with feminism, and it is the color of, like, the crown chakra and all the chakras, and it's also the color of royalty. So it's so much of who I am, and if I have to change who I am to get an alpha man, he's not the man for me, you know?
Right.
So I really do think it's important that you don't make snap judgments. And, you know, him saying avoid feminists at all costs, I think that's a little extreme. Now, I will say, like, the Me Too movement, very, very sensitive topic. We're not going to go into that. But what I will say is he has a very... So, you know the term, the glass is half empty, the glass is half full. So you have some people that perceive something a certain way. He perceives it as there's all these women making all these false accusations, and there's actually more women making more money than men these days because of these things that have been in place. So he has a completely opposite perspective. And the thing is, this is one of the most important things that I want people to take away from this episode is ask yourself, before you apply any of this, ask yourself, are you perceiving things from a lens of trauma? Are you perceiving things from a lens of ego? These are important questions for self-awareness for all of us to ask, even for women.
Right.
So the women that are listening to this, like, am I perceiving this from a lens of trauma? Because I think, you know, there's a lot of women that are hurt over things that have happened to women that are also viewing things from a lens of trauma. So we heal when we start to peel away the layers of trauma that we're seeing things through, removing those rose-colored glasses so we can see things for what they are. And unfortunately, we live in a time of the internet where you can back anything that you say. If my sister literally sent me an article that said this woman lived to 96 because she drank a shot of Hennessy every day. You can literally find anything on the internet to back whatever point you're coming up with. So, you know, if you believe a certain thing, you'll find things to validate that. Our minds love to be correct. So if you're like, oh no, women make more money, you'll find articles and stats to back that. If you say, oh no, men make more money, you'll find articles and stats to back that. So the most important thing is ask yourself, am I viewing this from a lens of trauma? Am I viewing this from a lens of ego? And those are really good questions to sit with and reflect on before you make a snap judgment about any of it, honestly, on either end of the spectrum. Do you have anything else you want to say about red flag number 2?
I'm gonna ease off for red flag number 2. What I will say is this,
it's a
though.
sticky topic. It is.
It's a very sticky topic, but I think it comes from a place of nobody wants to be overlooked. And if you overlook somebody long enough, you know, now you become, I don't want to say the enemy, but you become the opposition of that person or that group. So I can understand where it's coming from, and I can understand how intense it has gotten over time, because, you know, people get sick of knocking gently on the door. You know, at some point, they're like, listen, we could just unscrew the hinges and take the door off. And, you know, so I don't have any particularly negative feelings about feminism or the Me Too movement. I feel that conversations need to be had, right? Conversations need to be had about where you stand. And if, you know, you meet someone who is on this particular life path, I think that it's about a conversation, right? If they can have a conversation with you and they can understand that this person respects, this person sees me as, you know, equal or partner, like that can change the dynamic of where they're only being how they've been because that's what they know, right? Just like anybody else. So once you have a conversation, you get an opportunity to change the potential dynamic of what that looks like. I don't think that running from it is a thing. I don't think that running from it because, oh, this person identifies as this, now let's run. I don't think that's how it works. I think it's, let's get into why. I'm big on talking about things. Like, let's talk about why you feel that, you know, we can't coexist in the space. And if there's something that we can't work out together, then cool. But I don't really feel like that would be the outcome. I feel like the outcome would be, wow, okay. But I think differently than a lot of people. So for me, I want to know why your hair is purple, and not in an inquisitive way because I'm trying to judge you, but I want to know, like, genuinely, hey, what made you do that? That's kind of dope to me. And I'm rambling, but I'm a big fan of like uniqueness. I want to know what makes you you. I'm not big on what makes you fit in. I want to know what makes you stand out. So to me, those are the things that I'm more intrigued by. Those are the things that'll make me ask more questions, because it's like, what made you be bold enough to stand out and do this thing? That's where I'm at with it. So even if it was a conversation of feminism, I want to know what made you join this movement, what made you identify as such, and what can I do to support in this space. So there's a lot of conversations can be had instead of just writing it off.
Yeah, I think that we should accept people for who they are, you know, and we can coexist. We can all get along, you know, like I have tons of feminist friends. So and I, you know, ultimately there's nothing wrong with having a preference of, you know, I want the person I date to have similar beliefs as me, but to write a book and be like, stay away from feminists at all costs is a little extreme.
Right.
Okay. Moving on to red flag number 3, because we have 20 to get through. So
Yeah.
red flag number 3 is the unhappy and the unlucky. So I don't know Richard Cooper, but he doesn't seem very happy to me. So I feel like this is another one that's very contradictory. And he says, such women always have some problem going on in their life that attracts the Captain Save-A-Ho type of guy to swoop in and rescue them from their own shitty existence and choices in life. That is harsh, and I'm like, Richard Cooper, have you had shitty experiences and made shitty choices in life? Because that is what it sounds like to me as to why you wrote this book. But again, I'm not here to bash, but I will say that what I will say is that we need compassion. Compassion has to be an element in relationships, any relationship. And there are going to be things in life that make you unhappy and make you feel unlucky. Like grief, for example. Grief is something that is unavoidable. No matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, no matter how alpha or high value you are, grief is something that's unavoidable. So if you encountered a woman that just lost someone important in her life and she seems a little unhappy, this is just an example of like, don't judge, you know, just from like these 20 red flags. So just because she's going through a phase of mourning someone that she loves in her life, you completely write her off when this could be the freaking love of your life. I just think that this is a little, it's snap judgments that I think will cause some men to really miss out on really, really amazing women. Now, being, if you know about emotional intelligence and you know about communication and vulnerability, you should be able to tell if this is just a generally happy woman that had an unfortunate situation or if she's just bitter. Nobody wants a bitter woman. So we're gonna move on to red flag number 4. Do you have anything to chime in on that one?
I do have something to chime in on number
Okay.
3. So number 3 is a pet peeve of mine.
Okay.
And it's not the unlucky. What's the title of that again?
The unhappy and unlucky.
Okay, so what I will say is this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to leave it there. There are people who prefer to be in that space than to find the beauty in the rest of their life or the rest of their day. I can't rock with that. Um, I need to be able to pull you to the side of the other things of your day, not to make it seem like what you're going through isn't a big deal, but at some point after we talk about what's going on, I need you to kind of understand that, hey, there's a lot more to focus on, and there's a lot more things that you can place your focus on, even if it's only just to make you feel better for a little while. And there are some people that I've encountered that intentionally will try to not see any of the beauty that you bring to them whatsoever. And it's okay if it's momentary, but I know some people who live that way, and I can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's my only take on that right there.
Okay, so that is a red flag, and I so combining what I said and what you said. So if someone is actually just a unhappy, bitter, negative person, definitely a red flag, definitely stay away. However, you still want to get curious and ask questions and get to know a person to know if are they just going through something that's unavoidable, like grief, for example. So if they're just going through something, then that's one thing. But if they're just an unhappy, bitter person, then yeah, total red flag and stay away at all costs.
Yeah, if it's just a moment or just a one situation, I'm talking about habitually. If like every single
Yeah.
day you only find the reasons to be miserable, that one stands for me.
Yeah.
if
But
that's a norm, then yeah.
yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it. All right, red flag number 4, she competes with you. So I think that this is more of like the whole feminist thing, as to like, I feel like why would a woman compete with you? Like this, so to me, we should be a team, you know? Like the queen to your king, the king to your queen, and it's not a competition. So this one I don't even understand. But so to me it's a red flag. If a woman is competing with you, then yes. Now, he mentions the rise of the boss girl. So I think that there's a lot of confusion on what it means, like boss girl attitude. So when I saw this, so how this all started, Emily from Crack the Code show shared an alpha man post that said these are the 10 indications of a low value woman, and one of them was a boss girl attitude. Both Emily and I owned studios. So I'm like we're entrepreneurs, like we're business owners, like why would that make us a low value woman? And then the guy that I went out on a date with was like, no, it's not about you owning a business, it's about you like bossing your man around and telling him what to do and belittling him. And so I think that there's a little bit of a different perspective from like men and women of like what the boss girl means. So to us it just means that we own businesses, like that's it, like we are taking action towards owning a business. And to a man that means that she's like too in her masculine to where she's going to try to control the man. But I personally don't feel like any woman should compete with a man. That's silly to me personally. And then also, I do think it's important, and I speak about this a lot as female entrepreneurs. It's important for us to counterbalance us running a business with femininity. So, holding on to our femininity, really being in that divine masculine. When I have a really like intense business day, I go home and I put on lingerie because I'm like, I need to feel sexy. I need to get into my feminine, because sometimes it's hard to switch out of that mode when you're like making decisions and taking action and all those things. So it's really important, I feel, for a woman to maintain her femininity. And that's something that I talk about a lot. At my studio, I do energy analysis where I see where people's chakras are operating, and there's a lot of women operating in their masculine. And I try to do work to make sure they're operating in their divine feminine. So yeah, I think if a woman is actually trying to compete with you, that is a red flag. So I totally agree with you this time, Richard. What
I
do you have to say, Emery?
it all depends on what we're talking about when we say competing.
Okay.
Um, so put two guys in the room and they compete for greatness. They iron sharpens iron, right? And put a man and a woman in a room. Why can't that be the same thing? So I believe it's about how strong are you in your ability to see this person as they truly are, as friendly competition. Now, bossing you around, that's different, but you being a boss shouldn't threaten me. It should encourage me, and it should create some kind of internal competition to see how high we can encourage each other to go. Now, that paired with encouragement and compared with paired with compassion, paired with the desire to see each other win, yeah, I think that works. But I think that when you put two people in a space together, competition is kind of natural. Even if they're not in competition with each other, they're competing to make each other better. So if you're trying to be better than me, then no. But if you're trying to be better than you are and we create a competition that gets us both going further, then that's cool, because most people have that kind of dynamic where we're in competition, but it's friendly competition. At the end of the day, we high five, man. Okay, you did really good. I did really good. Good, great job. Right? That's camaraderie. So why can't you have camaraderie in a relationship? And I think that that's, if you have two people who are both building to their greatness, you should be able to sharpen each other. I don't think that one should step down.
Okay. Let me see if I understand what you're saying. So I think that I'm trying to think of an example. So I think what you're saying is more encouragement and support and like that power couple dynamic where
Exactly.
you're working together for a common purpose, but you're okay. So the way that I see it is like, if you're a business owner, I'm a business owner, like let's say we're in a relationship together and you're setting goals for your month, I'm setting goals for my month, and we hold each other accountable and have a little bit of banter, like, okay, if you hit your goal, you take us on a date. If I hit the goal, I'll take us on a date, like that kind of thing. So it's not necessarily like competition in trying to be better, but like encouraging each other in a banter type of way to be better.
Right. Let me
Is
look and
that
see what he let me see what he's describing it as a little bit. Let me see if I can see a little bit of
because I think that power couples are hot, so
yo,
it's
and that's exactly where I'm at with it. But I don't
yeah.
know what he's competes with you. I mean, let me just hush my mouth a little bit and see. So let me take it like I said. So competing with you, no, right? I shouldn't compete with you. You shouldn't compete with me. Now, if we're competing in a like you said, like camaraderie, something like that, that's different to me. But I feel like, the girl boss thing, I think those two are not the same. They're not the same,
Yeah.
right? If a woman builds her brand or her business to a level and she does it on her own, she has a right to walk into a room like a girl boss. She has a right to walk into a room and fully represent herself. Why should she not have to do that? That doesn't mean that when she takes off that boss hat, that you can't now be of service as a man. You can't, that shouldn't. I'm weird with that, because I know a lot of bosses that still need support, that
Yeah.
still need the
Oh,
same
of course.
thing.
Yeah, we
And
all need
so the
support.
only part I don't agree with this is like the competing part. But I feel like if it's the girl boss hashtag girl boss part, I don't agree with that. I think that if you had to build it from the ground up, just like anybody else, you should be proud of it just like anybody else. And you should own that shit like anybody else. That doesn't mean that you can't then be loved. That doesn't mean that you then can't turn on your femininity. That doesn't mean that you can't have a alpha man to step in and do whatever needs to be done on the adverse side of that. So I don't think that the girl boss part, but the competing with me to to prove you're better than me, I don't like that part, but I don't like that for either side. I don't like that for the man or the
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah. I mean that's a disaster waiting to happen. And
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of women talk about how them being the top earner destroyed their relationship. So there's a lot of layers in this. So this is definitely opening the dialogue. Like I want to hear comments. I want to hear people's feedback on this. So definitely hit us up on Instagram and share your feedback. If you can comment on whatever platform you're listening to, if you're watching the YouTube video, definitely comment under the YouTube video because I want to hear people's feedback on this. All right, so moving on to red flag number 5, keeps men from her past around. So a lot of the alpha men posts say that if a woman has male friends, she's a low value woman. Now, I consider myself to have male friends, like Emery, you're my friend. And I was talking to the guy that I went on a date with, and his opinion of this is like, are they hitting you up at night trying to like hang out? You know what I mean? So basically, the alpha men don't feel like you can be platonic. Well, the alpha men that create some of these, like these books and posts, they don't feel like you can be platonic friends like men and women. That eventually the man is going to try to like slide up in a DM or slide over to Netflix and chill or whatever. So that is one of the beliefs. I don't have any comment on this one.
I mean, I don't particularly know if I feel this is interesting. This is interesting. And again, I think I need to read the book and maybe, dive more into this. But keeping people from your past around, I mean, if I don't particularly know if that bothers me. Now if this is someone that you have an inappropriate relationship with, then yeah, I mean that's not just keeping somebody from your past around, that's keeping a fling around. That's different. But if you have someone that you know that's been around, even if you may have dated years ago or whatever, and you have become cool or created a relationship or friendship, I don't particularly think that's a problem. However, the inappropriate conversations, inappropriate time frames, things like that, of course, that's wrong on both sides. But um, I have a lot of friends that are from my past, right? So maybe I'm kind of like biased on this one, but I feel like I judge a person on how they treat the people that they deal with, right? If you deal with people in a way where you seem like you with the shits, it's part of my French. That's not French, but if you're with it and they know you're with it, and I could tell you seem like you're with it, that's a problem. Because now it's not just you keeping people around, you're keeping options open. You're keeping potentials
Yes.
available. That's a whole different situation than
That's
just
a
keeping people
whole
around
different
from
story.
your past. So there's a two different there's just different ways to handle that. I've met exes. I'm the guy I'm cool with exes. I'm very secure in who I am
And
as a
that
man. So that also plays a role in that. Like I'm
yeah.
very when you meet me, I'm firm handshake. I'm hey, let's we're as long as you don't give me a reason to question your motives, I have no problem with you. So that's really who I am. So I don't really know um if this is a write-off for me or a red flag for me. But if you keep the wrong people from your past around, then of course it's a problem.
Yeah. So I want to clarify with this one. If a woman is keeping her options open and keeping, you know, men around that, the one that got away because he mentioned something like that, that's an issue. So if she's keeping her options open, that is an issue. Period. Red flag, totally. Now, a lot of this, okay, if you try to control who a woman socializes with, like that's going to lead to resentment. And I also think that a lot of what he's saying comes from a place of insecurity. So later on, after we go through the 20 red flags, I want to mention an article that lists 30 qualities of a high value man, or excuse me, an alpha man, whichever one it is. And one of the things is confidence. And if you're confident in who you are, what you bring to the table, and you're confident in your relationship, then you have what you call trust. And if you have trust, then this wouldn't be an option. But there is a difference in a woman associating with men and then a woman keeping her options open. If a woman is keeping her options open, that's an issue. You neither one of you are secure in the relationship if that's the case. So we'll leave it there. All right. Red flag number 6 is poor with money. So this one confused me a little bit because I'm like, poor with money? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
But I think what they mean with that is someone who has poor spending habits or a lot of debt. So he also says if they have nothing but a pile of handbags and shoe collections. I think I got a little triggered with this one. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Because I definitely have some nice handbags and I definitely have a nice Louboutin, collection. But at the same time, I have a business. You know what I mean? So I think that on the surface, this one, I'm just like, do I have a red flag here? But no, I mean, I work very hard and I'm definitely investing in my future long term. So it's just one of those things where like it's one of those things where this is a conversation. This is a conversation. And I will also say there's a lot of men. There's a lot Hold on. There's a lot of men with debt. There's also a lot of men driving cars that are really expensive and they have shitty homes. So, if we really want to get real here, you cannot judge a woman on her shoe or handbag collection unless you are on top of your finances as well. So, making sure that before you judge someone else, you go ahead and look at the skeletons in your closet and look under your rug to see what you swept under there. So, it's like, even if a man is making 6 figures, that doesn't mean he's not living above his means. That doesn't mean that he has investments. That doesn't mean he's not in debt. So I think that it's really, really important before a man goes in and has all of these boxes that a woman must check or must not check. It's important to look at your own stuff. I think that's really, really important. And working in the field of coaching, there were so many flashy people out here that didn't have a dime to their actual name, and they may have made 100K. Even if they made 100K for 5 months, if they blew it because they went and bought some fancy car because they had a few good months, and then they don't have a pot to piss in. Who used to say that? I think my grandmother used to say that. But like there's a lot of times where guys have all these flashy cars and stuff, but they don't even have a decent home, or their home is a mess. So it's like this goes both ways. And there's a term, I can't think of it right now, but it definitely goes both ways. And this is a conversation to have. I believe in power couples, and I believe in couples discussing financial goals, because I do think it's important for when you date someone, like if you're wanting to get into a long-term relationship. So this LTR is what he means by the LTR means long-term relationship. If you want to get into a long-term relationship with someone, I think having a conversation about budgeting, about financial goals, about spending habits is really important, because I've been with someone who we had completely different visions of like what we wanted for our lives. And I'm a little fancy, but I'm like, I'll work for my fanciness. I'm not someone who's like, oh, I'm just gonna settle for like a mediocre whatever. I'm like, no, we're gonna go ahead and start this business so we could get what we want. So I think being on the same page with whatever woman or man you're dating in that sense is really, really, really important. So this is definitely a conversation to be had. But before you go judge someone, make sure that you are looking at your own finances and wealth and net worth and profit to loss statements.
Yeah. I for this one, I will say, you can be poor with money, but are you poor with learning? Because this is something that can be taught. Yeah. This is something that can be taught. And if you're in a relationship with a partner, Um, you know, you may be poor with money because you've been around people who've been poor with money and haven't had money, right? So if this is what you, again, it's got kind of goes back to daddy issues with me. Like it doesn't, this isn't related, but the concept, right? If this is what you've known all your life, but you're open to learn something new, I don't really think this is a red flag. I think if you want to stay in this kind of situation, then sure, this could be a red flag. But um I don't I'm a little old school, right? I'm the kind of guy that would much rather provide. You know, I would much rather provide in a relationship. And I wasn't always in a position to do so, but that was my desire. And I worked myself up to the point where I could do so. Right. So for me, it's like, do I care if you're really bad with money? Are you bad with my money or are you bad with your money? Because there's a difference in that, right? A lot of times, and you'll find that in power couples that there is one set of income or one account that is kind of like the trick off account, right? There's the go buy random stuff kind of account. So again, I think, like you said, this is a conversation piece, but I also believe that if you're cool with learning, if you're cool with being able to understand a new way of spending or understand how to shift this around, I don't really see this as a big problem because, you know, alpha men want to provide anyway, right? So let's provide.
Yeah. And I think that this one is huge, that I feel like there's a lot of men that, you know, even if they are providing, I've heard so many stories about men having gambling issues, or he didn't tell the family they were in debt. Like, this is really, I honestly feel like the percentage of why there's divorces, like the reason for divorce is usually finances. So this is definitely a conversation to be had. I interviewed a couple a long time ago and they were young. I can't remember. Oh my goodness. It probably was like a year or so ago. I've had this podcast for now 3 years. But I interviewed this couple that said that they actually went to like financial counseling or something of that sort. Like, they actually went to a coach that's like, okay, we're joining forces like in life, so we want to have guidance around budgets and finances. And I was like, that is so good. That is so good. So I definitely think something like that is a healthy decision. Like, if you decide you're going to be in a long-term relationship with someone, especially if you are starting a family, like having someone to guide you through finances, investments, wealth building, etc., I think that's powerful. I think that's
Yeah.
really powerful.
Yeah, that one is definitely, that it may take a little bit of time, but it's easily fixable.
Yeah. So red flag number 7 is violent women. We're going to speed up a little bit. So if a woman hits you, that's a massive red flag. I agree, Richard Cooper. Don't, yeah, I agree with this one. So we're going to skip this just to move on. Extreme jealousy. I definitely think that extreme jealousy is a red flag. So a woman, just like you want the man to be confident, the woman should be confident. So we're going to skip this one too. So red flag number 9 is party girls. Now, I think that this one is definitely a, like, where's the line of like what makes a woman a party girl? So yeah, this is a case by case situation. He says party several nights a week. Um, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, are we partying together? Or
I
are
don't.
you just going out with your girls? And I mean, at some point, I feel like if that's something to do with your business, or if that's something to do with your brand, or something to do with what you're building, cool. Me personally, I don't really feel like I would have any if I was in that position to date, I wouldn't particularly go for somebody like that. But again, I wouldn't meet somebody in a nightclub anyway.
Yeah,
I'm that's the thing. I feel like where you meet people oftentimes explains to you a lot about who they are, and you
yeah.
can't ignore that.
So one of the things that he said in the book that I don't agree with is not being okay with women going on like women only trips, like a girls trip, and partying. So, and also it's not clear what he defines as partying. Like, I went to dinner with my girls, my girl gang the other night, but like, we didn't go to a club. We went to an Italian restaurant and had wine and had really great food. So like, does he consider that partying because I'm out with friends versus like out with him? So I think that there's a lot of clarity that needs to be had in this. Like, I'm not a club person. Like, I don't go to clubs. Like, I like wine bars. I like nice restaurants. Like, that's my idea of going out. And I do my girls' nights. And I personally feel that it's healthy for guys to be able to go out with guys, to blow up some steam and do guy things, and for women to go out with women and be able to do women things. So when couples try to like drag each other to stuff, like, that builds resentment. And I think it's healthy for women to have her own group of friends, because if you consume your whole entire life around your person, it's not healthy. So to me, if a man is like, I don't want you going out with your friends, like, that screams insecurity to me,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah,
Now,
I think if this
if she's
party
going out,
life, I'm
if
sorry.
she's going, oh, my bad. So if she's going out clubbing, that's that's different. If she's going out clubbing and she has on a very revealing outfit and she's in a nightclub where guys are going to be hitting on her and trying to dance with her, that's a very different thing. So if you have a sophisticated woman that enjoys fine dining and her girls get together and go to dinner, like, I don't see that as being an issue. And if a man has an issue with that, that screams insecurity to me.
Yeah, I don't particularly think that. I think party and nightclub. I think that that's more so what this one is about, and I think that that's kind of is given.
Okay, so in I think, yeah, so he dated a few party girls and their phones would be going off at 2 a.m. from guys looking to hook up. So, I mean, yeah, that, to me, why are you laughing?
I'm just wondering where Richard dated these women at. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like, this all of this comes from his poor choices. So he's like, guys, I made all the bad choices. Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did. Like, that's basically what this is.
yeah,
But so many men, like, there's so many Instagram pages talking about the alpha man, and here's 10 things to identify a low value woman, and a party girl is one of them. And if we don't start the dialogue on this, there is no clarification of like what that actually means. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, to break down each one of these. Okay,
right.
so heavily tattooed and pierced women. I used to have a bunch of piercings. I had a dermal on my chest here, I had a couple on my back, but it wasn't like pierced. I think they're talking about like facial piercings and stuff like that. Like, I don't have any, and my dermal that was here came out, but it was really cute, very dainty and sophisticated. But I don't have, like, crazy piercings. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't really care about this one. But
I think that one is goes back to the purple hair though. It goes back to expression,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, some people use their skin as their canvas to express what they believe, what they feel, their spirituality, all types of things. And I think that this is a preference thing, right? This shouldn't be a red flag thing because, again, we live in a world where people are expressing themselves. A lot of artists, a lot of painters, a lot of creatives, just people who like to be who they are in themselves. They may live in a corporate world and they love the fact that when they take off their suits or they take off their dresses, at the end of the day, they can see themselves in the creation that they've created for themselves. So this one, I'm completely against this one. I personally think that this is all about expression.
And there are plenty of guys that are into tattooed women. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
again, personal preference, basically. Okay, so red flag number 11. We're going to chew on this one a little bit. So, big notch counts. Okay, so one of the things, and I'm definitely going to put the explicit on this episode, but one of the things that he said is that if a woman has genuine burning desire for you, she will fuck your brains out and swallow your load. And I think he says even in like the first or second date. And so it's like, okay, this is a little contradictory to me. So you don't want a woman with big notch counts, but you want a woman that's gonna give it up on a first or second date. So like, I don't know about this one, Richard. I don't know about this one. So what do you have to say about this, Emery?
Ah, man, listen. So it's interesting because let's just say, let's give a scenario real quick to drive this one home. Let's say it's a woman named Susan, right? And she's looking for the right guy.
Yes.
And she knows that, well, guys think you're supposed to give it up on the first or second date to show you're a high value woman, right?
Oh
So
my
she meets a guy and they go on a date. First date's amazing. Second date's great. He invites her back to his place and they do it. She does this because she thinks that he's looking for Mrs. Right and she's supposed to give it up on a second date based on this book, right? But she gives it up. He doesn't call her again. 6 weeks goes by. She's over it. She's licked her wounds. She's over the fact that this guy dogged her. She goes on another date, assuming that, okay, well, that was just a fluke because men who read this book, they know that they want a woman and they want him to give it up on a second date. So does it again, and 6 weeks again, and 6 weeks again. So now we're in a short period of time, we're at 5 guys, right? That's just 1 year. And we're not even at a full year. Her body count is high based on her doing what she's supposed to do in this book. Now her count is high, but the men weren't looking for relationships. So I think that the body count, that's another thing that I feel is subjective, right? You really got to look at why the count is high. Now, if you're just out here, if you're a party girl and your count is high, that's different. But if you've been looking for Mr. Right and the wrong guys have been just taking advantage of you, that's not the same as you just having a high body count because you're out here just doing your thing. So I really feel like, the body count thing, what's your intention?
Yeah.
That's my question with that. What's your intention? I feel like this especially within this particular book in these pages, they're telling you to have a high body count basically, and then they're saying it's a red flag to have a body count.
Yeah.
Because 2 dates, if you're giving it up after 2 dates, most men don't even know. Let's be very clear and transparent about what I know about myself as a man and what a lot of guys that I know. I'm not going to generalize and say all men, but a lot of guys very clearly, sex does change the dynamic of a relationship. And it takes a little bit of time for you to get that to that point where it won't change the dynamic of the relationship, right? So let's just say, for instance, hypothetically, you and I go out and like, oh, she's really dope, she's amazing. And then second date comes and like, wow, she's really cool. And I'm thinking of all these amazing things we can do together. And then we have sex. And now a lot of the allure, a lot of the desire to fantasize is gone because I've gotten to a place with you that I now know the most intimate space of you. Now that's really it's unfortunate because what happened to the dreams, what happened to building all the things, and I think that giving it time to grow into that and then to have that, I think that's what really solidifies the relationship, and then the sex confirms everything that you planned. So I think 2 dates is way too soon, unless you're just in a hookup culture, right? If this is a swipe right swipe left type thing, sure, 2 dates. But if you're looking for a relationship, 2 dates, unless you just know this is the right one and you just know off the bat this is the person, I don't really think 2 dates is long enough. But I'm old school. So if this is what they've been subscribing to and they've been trying to, not lose the good guy because they feel like, well, I got to give it up or he's not going to see my value, then that body count is not just a regular body count. So we can't just judge the body count itself.
Yeah, I think that this is very contradictory, and there's nothing that I hate more than a situationship. So he actually says in the book not to disclose to a woman that she's in plate status or, friends with benefits. So like if a woman doesn't know and she's thinking that you're in it for a long-term relationship, then you guys are on two different pages, you know, and she's giving it up because she has a genuine burning desire for you. So it's like, personally, I feel like if a man knows that he does not want a relationship with a woman, he should disclose that before having sex with her. That's integrity. And when we get to the list of, I think I'm going to name 14 or 12 or 14 qualifications of what an high value man actually is. And one of the things is a man with integrity. And if you know that you do not want to be in a relationship with a woman, don't fuck her. It's plain and simple. There's a lot of
Unless that's the
unless.
agreement.
Well,
Like if you both know that if we're hooking up, if they're hooking up, then that's different. But if you know she's looking and she's made it very clear to you that she's looking for a relationship, don't do that.
yeah.
This is manipulative. Don't do that. Why? There's a lot of party girls out there
There are
that
a
you
lot
could
of
go
party
and
girls.
get
Yes.
someone who's just looking to hook up. So if you take advantage of a person who's genuinely looking for a relationship and you take that from her, that says a lot about you. That kind of knocks you out of alpha male status to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's not a high value man. That's
No
not
one
a high
doesn't.
value man.
That's no
Yeah.
integrity. There's no integrity on that.
Yep. So I definitely think that that is important to state here. And, you know, he has all this thing about like asking like when she lost her virginity. And he does say like women always lie about how many sexual partners they have. So double the number that she gives you. I'm just like, this is the worst freaking advice ever. Don't even ask. If you think she's gonna lie, don't even ask, because if she tells you the truth and you double that number, then that's in the back of your mind. I feel like asking a woman how many sexual partners she had is inappropriate, personally. But one of the last things I want to mention about this one, he says at the bottom, if 5 of her friends are or were sluts, then she'll be the 6th. So he's basically saying, you know, birds of a feather flock together. And I'm like, oh, Richard. Now, I mean, I guess I can see where that comes from if she has promiscuous friends that are hooking up with guys, and the girl is like, it's the second date, I may, you know, give him some. If her friends are promiscuous, they're gonna be like, get it, girl. But if she has a bunch of like sophisticated like women who know their worth, and they're like, do you know him well enough? Like, how do you feel about him? So I guess I can see how that can go, but I still think this is so judgy. This is so judgy. And if you're judging a woman this harshly in the beginning, like, this is judgy and very robotic, and this is not going to lead to a healthy relationship. Like, it's not. So if you want a healthy relationship, like, this is not a framework for that, personally, is what I feel.
Yeah.
So red flag number 12 is single mothers. And apparently a cuck is a man who raises another man's children. So I don't have children, but I think that this would be extremely offensive to women who do have children, because this is something that they can't change. Like, the finances you can change, like the daddy issues you could even change by going to therapy. There's a lot of things on the list that can be changed, but this is one that can't. So I think that this is one that is probably going to trigger a lot of women. But I will say, and he's speaking from experience here, because he had a bad experience with a woman that had kids. I will say, when I was 25, I dated a guy with a son, and it was awful. Like, he allowed his son to, so because he only had an opportunity to see him like once, you know, like every 2 weeks or something like that, whatever the agreement was, he let his son do whatever he wanted. And as like a prank, they actually like mooned me. And I was like, this is so disrespectful. Like, to allow your son to moon an adult, you know, and like, there was so much to it. Like, that's just like one like little example. There was so much disrespect. And he allowed it because he wanted to be the cool dad when he had his son. And so after that experience, I said, I will not date another man that has kids, because I don't want to ever go through a situation like this, because people don't want you to discipline their children. And you know, it was such a bad situation. So I can understand this is one that's a little hard for me. I think it's going to be very triggering for women, but I can understand why a guy wouldn't want to date a woman with kids unless he has kids. Um, because I've been there from my perspective of like, I'm not going to date a guy with kids. And that was, you know, when I was in my 20s. Like now in my 30s, there's not many men that don't have children. So you know, there are a few, but like if they're my age or older, they probably already have children. So I think if I were to say I'm not dating a guy with children, that would that would lower, you know, the possibility of me finding, you know, a person. So that this one is a little tricky, but it is very 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 challenging to blend families and come in, especially if you don't have children. And that's one of the things that the guy that I was with when I was 25, he's like, you don't have kids, don't tell me how to raise my kids. And I'm like, okay. Like, it literally was one of the worst relationships I've ever been in my life. But you don't know these things until after, you know, like after you're already in it. And so yeah, for a while I was like, no more guys that have children. But you know, I've eased up on that.
I this one jabs me a little bit. This one jabs me a little bit because if you look at number 1, number 12, you're basically setting up that daughter to be number 1, right? If you take this and you don't, no one dates a single mom. Isn't that gonna have that? Aren't those women, those daughters, gonna have daddy issues? Like, aren't you setting up that stage for that to happen anyway in this particular situation? For me, I think this is straight whack. Like, just be blunt about it. And I'm reading this part where he says, I've dated a single mother when I was blue pilled, and trust me, do not date, live with, marry, or marry a single mother. It's not worth it. This is very a very one-sided perspective. And to me, I feel like a lot of what these things don't talk about, these rules, these red flags, these particular things you're supposed to look for, where is attraction and love? Where is the actual compassion and companionship? And what does this person bring to the table? I know a ton of single mothers who are also girl bosses, who are also extremely motivated and driven and have a lot to offer and bring to the table. And I think this is completely disgusting because, number one, being a single mom, you have to have motivation. You got to be motivated to keep going further. You got to be motivated. You're a caretaker, you're a provider. And what better person would you want to pick? Like, if you're going to settle down with somebody, you already know they know how to take care of you based on the way they take care of their children. You know they know how to take care of certain situations based on how they take care of their household. So I think that this one is really like offensive to me, for women, right? Because it just feels like a deep jab. Like, the woman that you dealt with, I dated a single mother. I've dated single mothers. I've dated single mothers when I was blue pilled. Like what is blue pilled?
So he's talking about like matrix of like the reality versus like how it's presented to you basically.
Okay. So let me just let me just interject here, and I'll keep it short. this one to me is BS. Single women, shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all for doing your thing. Shout out to y'all for being dope. Shout out to y'all for being amazing. And I apologize for this crap right here because nah. To me, honestly, I feel like for a man who's looking to really build a life and to build a future, sometimes the best person to build that with is someone you know is heavily invested in building the future already. So that's I'm gonna leave it right there. But that's to me, this is weak.
Yeah. I think that, again, this comes from a place of fear, mostly of like, oh, if she has kids, you're gonna, like, she's gonna be more expensive because you're not only taking care of her, you're also taking care of her kids. So you're investing a lot, like what you invest in a single woman versus what you invest with in a woman with children, it's going to be more, and it's more risk. And so a lot of this comes from fear, and if it's coming from fear, it's coming from trauma. And so fear is easily controlled. So if a man is afraid of investing in a woman, I feel like one, that's not the woman for you. And I also feel like fear, like being fearful of investing in a woman, is also not an alpha man. To me, a man in his divine masculine sees a woman that he wants, and he's like, I don't care what it takes. I want to be with her. I want to provide for her. I want to be her king. And that's how it should be.
Period. Body count,
My
single
mic
mother,
drop.
mic drop, poor spending habits. Because as an alpha male, number one, influence. One of the things you have as an alpha male is influence.
Yeah.
If you're weak in the influence game, I'm sorry, you're not an alpha male, bro. And the thing about that is your influence and your dominance shouldn't just be to make people submit to you. It should be used to make people better. So, single mom coming to the table, make it better, right? Poor spending habits, make it better. High body count, just don't you don't no need to add any more numbers to it. That's in the past, right? Why add any more numbers to it? You see what you want as a man. And I'm not even going to use alpha male at all. I'm not going to use any kind of terminology. As a man, a real man, period. Not high value, none of those things. If you're a man, you're a man. You're a real man, you're a man, period. If you are a man, you see what you want, you find a way to get it, and that's the end of the story, period. And it doesn't matter what happened before you came along. You've done things in your life before all these things came along as well. And if we're looking under, carpets, and we're picking up rugs, everybody looks just as bad as the other person. So we're not going to play that game. And like you just said, when a man sees something he wants, he's going to find a way to make it his. Now, just make sure that it really works for what you're building. But once you know it does, come on, man. These red flags. There are some red flags out there. Like the hitting one, no, absolutely not. The party girl one, absolutely not. But a lot of these other ones are very subjective, and there are things that people can't really control.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, red flag number 13 is women seeking validation. So, we live in a social media society. Honestly, I feel like everyone's seeking validation that's on social media, men and women. So, I really feel like this one is kind of like, meh. So, I think what he talks about in the actual book is if she has like provocative pictures, if she's like in a thong on Instagram, she's seeking validation from men, and she is fishing for likes, comments, and direct messages from men, providing loads of attention and validation. So he does say, I will say, he does say it's different for women who have businesses. So if you have a business and you're on social media, that's one thing. But he believes that women's profiles should be private, so they're not seeking validation from men, basically thirsty beta male following them. So, I mean, the post that Emily originally sent me, it said one of the qualities of a low value woman is if she has a lot of Instagram followers. I think, again, snap judgment is the same thing with like it's the same thing with the purple hair and tattoos. If you make a snap judgment off of how many Instagram followers she has, like that's definitely a snap judgment, and it could prevent you from being with a woman that makes you incredibly happy. And again, a lot of this sounds like insecurity to me, because I'm just like, if you're secure in your relationship and you trust your woman and she's a woman of integrity and you're a man of integrity, and there's trust and a foundation in your relationship, it doesn't matter who slides up in her DM. It shouldn't be an issue, because you should trust that she's gonna put him in his place and let him know she's in a relationship, or delete the message, or whatever the case may be. Because the reality is, you cannot control a woman so much to where, like, no man can get to her. She can't go out with her friends, she can't travel with her friends, she can't, go out, or like she can't have a public social media account. Like, this sounds like control, ego, and insecurity. This doesn't sound like an alpha man. This doesn't sound like a man in his divine feminine. And I'm not saying this about Richard Cooper specifically. I'm just saying, like, if a man follows these exact things, because Richard Cooper created this from a place of trauma, because he dated these party girls. So now he has these strict stipulations because he no longer trusts women. Period. He no longer trusts women. And so I just want to circle back, the same way that he feels like feminists hate men, I feel like Richard Cooper hates women. He no longer trusts women, and he's like, this whole book is from a place of trauma. And I get it. I believe in alchemizing your trauma. I believe in alchemizing your pain. I do so in my podcast. I talk about my pain, I talk about my experiences, and I alchemize it into gold to help other people learn from them. But I truly believe that if a man actually follows this, he is going to miss out on a really amazing woman that could be the love of his life. So.
I agree with that. And I think the seeking validation, we all seek validation.
Yeah.
He wrote this book to seek validation. Like, let's just be very clear. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
Everybody's seeking validation. Now, when you thrive and you survive for validation, that's different. Yeah. A woman posting provocative pictures online. First of all, let's look at what provocative means, right? So since you said you're gonna put the explicit on here anyway, let me just dive into something, okay? So I believe that a woman showing her body tastefully, and whatever that looks like for her, especially a woman that doesn't have a man at the moment, because when you have a partner, they shouldn't change who you are, but you should also have conversations about, okay, what are the things that are deal breakers for you? If you meet someone on Instagram and their page looks uncomfortable to you, or you're only attracted to them physically, you probably shouldn't date that person, because now you're gonna have a problem with all other people who are attracted to this person only physically. So that says a lot about you. Like you said, it's a sign of insecurity and low-key weakness. It's a sign of weakness. Like, I know a lot of people who I hate talking about relationships that I've been in, because I don't really talk about relationships. You're the first person to ever get me talk about relationship publicly. I don't do it. But one of my exes was straight diva all day, and she would go out, and I would be the person that's like, yo, nah, don't wear that. That's not even it. Like, you should wear this one. And this one would sometimes be more sexy, but it worked for what she was trying to go and do. I'm that guy that's going to be like, no. Put that down a little bit. Like, I'm that guy, because if you're going to do it, right? The only thing is, I have to be able to trust you, right? We have to have trust. So if I know that I trust my partner, and you going out with your friends and y'all supposed to be going out and being fly, make sure you fly. Make sure you're fly, and that goes for, translate that to social media. If you are posting for being a brand ambassador or a content creator, and this is a source of income for you, make sure it's fly. Make sure the water's glistening properly off your body when you step out the pool, when you get the shot right at that moment. Make sure it happens that way. That's confidence, though. When you have confidence in yourself, you allow yourself to let other people be who they are. When you lose trust in a person, then sometimes that stuff can change. But in the beginning, there's no need not to trust the person, because we're starting at a 0-0, right? Um, the credibility is at 100, just because that's where we're starting out. So I think that if you meet someone, I always say fish with the bait that you want to use, forever. And I say that because if you meet a girl online and you're like, ooh, I'll slide in your DMs and I want to go and have a drink with you, and you were attracted to her based on her body, you knew what you were signing up for. So now you try to make her into your girlfriend, and she's not comfortable with changing who she is now for you. Whose fault is that?
Yes.
That's you. That's
Yes.
on you. So if you meet someone and you know who they are, they've shown you who they are, you approach them. Now you want them to change who they are. That's kind of low key weak. That's real weak to me. So I feel like if that's the case, you gave the validation. Continue to give the validation that they need, but don't try to change the person.
Yeah. If you try to change, and this goes for men and women, if you try to change the person that you're dating, is only leading to resentment. Resentment is toxic. It's like a cancer to your relationship, period. Yeah. All right. Red flag number 14. She was a sugar baby. So, this is another one that I feel like is a little contradictory, because he talks about, like, if she has a genuine burning desire for you, it won't be transactional. But at the same time, you want a woman that is going to fuck you on a first or second date. So it's kind of like, if she's fucking you because you're a high value man on a first or second date, even though she may not be on seeking arrangements, he literally says in the book, go in her email and type in seeking and search to see if she's on seeking arrangements. And I think these days you have to also search for OnlyFans or whatever. So I think it's just as bad to fuck a high value man or alpha man on a first or second date as being on a site like that, because it's essentially the same thing. If you're sleeping with someone because of what they have versus genuine burning desire. If a woman sleeps with you on a first or second date, she doesn't know you, so she doesn't have genuine burning desire. She just knows that you look like you have money, so it's really no different than having a sugar daddy. I don't know if I articulated that
You did.
properly.
You did.
Did
You
I?
did.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like.
I,
Go
can I
ahead.
say one more thing?
Absolutely.
So I think that the whole like transactional thing, it's like, it's perspective. Again, what perspective are you viewing it? Because even in a marriage, if you go out and buy your wife a brand new couch set or something like that or whatever, you're gonna expect a little extra, something something that night because you did something nice. Like, I think that, like, people view things that way, and it doesn't make her a sugar baby because that's your wife, but like men are like, they expect a little extra, whatever is their thing, because they did something. Like, men expect that. I don't know. That's what I think. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. Um,
But it's all perspective. So someone could look at it and be like, well, this is just the natural progression of like relationships. You give and take, it's an ebb and flow, and like whatever. But someone could also look at that and be like, she's a whore, she's a slut bucket.
I think that this one is interesting, and it's really weird to me that a lot of these things are dealing with this person's past. Um, Nothing in here talks about did they do any work to fix this thing. We all have a past. We all have a past. And she was a sugar baby. Well, I mean, what was the arrangement? Did she have a high value guy that didn't want to be her boyfriend that she fucked on a second date, and he didn't let her be a girl boss? So then she shut down her business and let him take care of her. Like, these fall into his own red flags. Like,
Yeah.
how did she become a sugar baby? Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like that one to me is again, is very subjective, but I feel like at some point every woman or every guy could say either a they paid for sex or were paid for sex in one way or another. So that's kind of, that crosses off everybody.
Yeah, he says you can't make a whore into a housewife, but it's like, but at the same time, you want to woman to sleep with you on a first or second date, and some people can consider that as her being a whore. So it's like there's a lot of contradictions. There's a lot of contradictions, and it boils down to perspective. So going back to the first thing that we said is definitely trust your gut and take it with a grain of salt, because it's going to look like a difference. It's a case by case scenario. It's going to look different for each individual, and there's so many different ways that you can view this one. So let's move on to red flag number 15, pathological liars. I agree with this one. I feel like we can just skip that. I mean, that's my number one red flag. Like, if you lie to me, I'll never trust anything you say again. So I agree with that. Red flag number 16 is baby rabies. Now this one this is one that triggered me. No, I'm kidding. When I say triggered, I'm actually being funny, because the guy that I went out on a date with, that told me about the book, we were talking about our Crack the Code dating show, and he's like, you guys are triggered. So when I say triggered, I'm actually being funny. However, with me being in my 30s, I am definitely upfront. Okay, so baby rabies. Let me, just in case you're not watching the video and you can't read what's on the screen, this is basically a woman who is dating, probably in her late 30s, that wants babies. And so because her biological clock is ticking, like, she just wants to, like, basically get pregnant by a guy. So I don't know if a woman's trapped him, because a lot of his stories are like, make sure you wear a condom, even if she tells you she's on birth control. Like, women will lie to you about being on birth control. I'm like, Richard, who have you been dating? Like, for real. Like, who have you been dating? So anyway, I am very upfront about the fact that I want children. So to me, I think that, I feel like if I say I want children, you know you don't want children, don't date me. Don't waste my time, because it's a waste of time. So I do say up front that, like, if and I have it on my profile, because he actually says, like, if a woman says that she wants children on her profile, it's baby rabies, red flag, you know? But it's like, no, I'm at an age where I'm just like, if you don't want kids, if you've had what do you call it, a vasectomy or whatever, if you already have children and you're past that age in your life, let's not go on a date. Let's not waste each other's time. Damn sure don't sleep with me knowing that I want children and you don't want children. So, like, don't try to, like, what does he call it, plate status me. Like, no, if we don't want the same things, don't waste my time. So I do put it on my profile to be upfront. So I feel like him saying this is it's a little offensive. It says women exhibiting desperation to get married and reproduce are not into you and will not support your mission. That is some bullshit right there.
So Richard, so what you're saying is, Richard, all right, check this out. Don't date a single mom. Don't date a woman who wants to be a mom. Who can you date?
No one.
Nobody.
No one.
Oh, date a married woman with kids. There it is. Boom.
Yeah. Ugh.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Listen, here's the thing. A person wanting children, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And not every person who wants children is willing to have children, just anybody. That's not what that means. It means that they want children and they're being very clear about what they want. So nobody's wasting their time, like you just said. So that one, yeah, let's just move past him.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay, so red flag number 17. So we're wrapping it up. Let's speed it up because I know this episode is long. Okay, so red flag number 17 is hissy fits. So, I mean, I feel like
I like a good hissy fit. I'm not gonna front. I like a good hissy fit. I mean,
do tell. I need to hear this.
I'm just saying, like,
first let's get clear on, like, what a hissy fit looks like to you. Well,
okay, I like to add with love to everything, right? So throw a hissy fit with love, right? Like, don't act like a spoiled brat. It's just like temper tantrum. But a hissy fit is a little bit different than a temper tantrum. A hissy fit is like you want something and you pout about it, but it's not like I hate you. It's not like, get it or else, or it's not like that. It's cute. It's kind of like when they, kind of like throw that little fake fit, like that fake attitude. I'm cool with a hissy fit. I'm cool with a hissy fit. Because again, it lets you play together. It creates a form of, okay, we can dance in this, right? We can maneuver in this. We can create a little bit of a, all right, well, let's negotiate here, or let's whatever. Like, I think that when a woman throws a hissy fit, it's a really great indication of where she's placing some value. And I think that you can look at that as learning, okay, what's really important to her. So I feel like on top of that, it allows you to make it fun, right? Make it fun with your partner, make it fun with your woman, and dive into that. If it's something that you can do, fucking do it. Do it. If she's pissed because you're out with you guys for the 5th time this week, guess what? Stay home. Stay the hell home and watch a movie or just make love, whatever. But sometimes hissy fits are opportunities for you to get closer. I'm cool with a good hissy fit. I go hissy fit.
I think he has some pretty extreme examples that he mentions in the book, but I do think that the first thing that I thought when I read that list of like, these are 10 things that indicate a low value woman, I'm like, they want a doormat. If a woman isn't throwing a hissy fit and isn't getting emotional about something, she probably doesn't actually care about you. And especially if it's a man that considers himself an alpha man or high value man that could be traveling all the time and blah blah blah, if she's not a little pouty about something. Now I do think there's a line of like hissy fit, because he mentions like posting provocative pictures to like get back at him if he's out or something like that. Like, so I think there's a difference in a woman expressing how she feels versus a woman being disrespectful. So I don't condone a woman being disrespectful. I also don't condone a man being disrespectful. But I think that women naturally will have feelings about things, and just because she expresses it, that shouldn't be considered a hissy fit. But if she gets a little jealous or a little, I don't want to say needy, because I feel like needy has a very negative connotation, but if she's just like, oh, you haven't spent time with me in X number of days or whatever, like, I think that's normal relationship stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that with, again, the hissy fit has to be with love. It can't be just you acting like a damn fool, right? That's different. But if you throw in a hissy fit and posting provocative pictures online, I don't really think that's a hissy fit. That's not what I would classify as a hissy fit. That's vengeance. There's a difference between vengeance and a hissy fit. A hissy fit is acute, right? You see a kid throwing a hissy fit. Even the word hissy, you can't make hissy aggressive. Hissy, it's not even aggressive word. Hissy fit, that's what little 2-year-olds throw. And it's like, okay, here, get the candy, right? It's something they do because they know they want something that you normally give them, or that you are able to give them, and you're not giving it to them. Just give it to them. But like vengeance and all that's different. So we can move past hissy fit.
Before we move on, he says, remember, attention is the coin of the realm for the women, or for women. So when you remove it, they lose their mind and will usually automatically fall back in line. She will either comply or it's goodbye. So this definitely sounds like insane control. This doesn't sound like a partnership. This sounds like control and manipulation. And it's like, you expecting her to fall back in line or goodbye is you throwing a hissy fit. I'm just like, it's so contradictory.
So many of these things that are on this list that the way he's talking sounds like hissy fits. I dated the single mothers and they don't never date them.
Yeah.
Big caps do not date them. Really? You disqualifying all single moms because the ones you dated? Cool.
Yeah. The ex-party girls that he tried to turn into
Yeah,
housewives.
this book's starting to feel like a hissy fit.
All right. Red flag number 18, not being in control of the birth. Oh, so this is the one that he mentions about birth control and all of that kind of stuff. And you know, I don't even have anything to say about this. I mean, if you are worried about a woman purposely trying to get pregnant by you, you shouldn't be sleeping with her. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Red flag number 19 is drama queens. So I don't even know what to say about this because I think drama queen is going to vary from person to person on like what they consider a drama queen. Like women are a little dramatic, and if they're causing you drama in your life versus them just being a woman, you know, like I have stories of like, ooh, me and my girls did this and this happened, blah blah blah. Like that's just like normal women stuff. But if she's causing you drama, then that's a red flag. Like if there's fighting, like I'm a huge like healthy communication person. I definitely grew up in a household with a lot of yelling and cursing and like very aggressive communication, and I don't believe in that. And so I think I think that drama in a sense of like physical violence, verbal violence, you know, screaming, yelling, cursing at each other. Now, obviously, heated conversations will happen in a relationship, but I think when it gets to a certain point to where it's dangerous or like aggressive, that's a problem. But like normal female drama, I think is to be expected. You know, telling stories of you know what's going on in people's lives and keeping up with TV shows and stuff like that. Like that's normal women stuff. Like he wants like not even a Stepford wife. Like he wants a clone of like a woman. Like this is like not even, I feel like, realistic. Do you have anything on this one?
Real quick. So
I feel like you are over Richard right now.
it's not that I'm over Richard. I feel like what so go back up real quick to the title. So drama queens. Now, like you said, if you're just creating problems, that's not cool. But um if you legitimately have issues with things that are going on and you're just being labeled a drama queen because you're always expressing what you feel, I think that that's a little bit, that's again, we need to have a conversation.
Yep.
What is it that I'm doing or not doing that's consistently making you feel that you got to do this? Right? There's some validity to it. There has to be some validity to it if we're still together, right? We're still together and you're consistently bringing me things. I clearly know that these things are legit. I'm just ignoring them or pacifying them or pushing them off or brushing them off, and then a day or two later they come back up. Am I really handling shit properly? Is that why it be now? If you're just starting drama just because you want to start drama, like that's different. But I think that kind of goes in line with the hissy fit, right? Like, you know that I could do it. I'm just not doing it. So the hissy fit turns into drama because I haven't acknowledged the hissy fit. That's my thing. So I don't particularly, I mean, this one, yes, if you just like to create drama and keep things going, yeah, we done with that. But um this is another one that requires a conversation. Like, why is it happening?
Yeah. So one line he says here, drama queens choose random molehills to turn into mountains. So I again believe in healthy communication. If a woman respectfully expresses something that is bothering her, her feelings are valid and they should be taken as valid and respected, and it should be a conversation. And if you respond by saying, oh, this is nothing, you're crazy, blah blah blah, that's gaslighting and that's manipulation. So do not instruct men to gaslight women, period. So drama, just because someone expresses their feelings or emotions to you, that's not drama. It's not drama. That's communication. That is a healthy relationship, to communicate your needs and desires. So drama to me is just like arguing and throwing things and like just very unhealthy aggressive communication. But a woman expressing her feelings, her needs, her desires, that's not drama. So I just wanted to clarify that. All right, we are down to the last one. Red flag number 20 is addiction. So this goes for men too. There's so many men that have addiction. So definitely do not judge a woman on her addictions unless you are aware and have your own addictions under control, and not just alcohol, weed, or like drugs, but like also video games, gambling, porn. Like, make sure your shit is squeaky clean before you judge a woman. I just want to say that. What's your thoughts on this last one?
Same thing. Um, Everybody has addictions, and I just feel like reality TV, cigarettes, news, shopping, drugs, alcohol. Like these are the ones that he's naming. Um, yeah, I mean, just be a friend first. Be a friend to the people that you are actually going to date, right? If you know somebody has an issue and it's legitimately an issue, be a friend. This may be the greatest person you ever meet. They just need to talk to somebody. Like, don't write people off because they got something that everybody has going on. I used to say to my mom, don't judge me because I sin differently than you. Right? Like, how you gonna judge somebody because they have an addiction? Everybody has one, at least one. You know, just because yours is pretty doesn't mean that it's better. You know, it still has the same reactions and it still has the same potential to damage you. So, that one is, again, have a conversation, be a friend.
Yeah. So I read this article on the idea pod. It was just I googled like what is a high value man, other than Kevin Samuel's, breakdown of it. And there's an article, 30 traits of a high value man. I'm not going to read all 30, I'm going to read 14 of them. So, according to this, number one, he's confident. Number two, he is humble, which none of Richard Cooper's book was humble. So, we'll just put that out there. Number three, he takes care of himself. Number four, he has healthy boundaries. Number five, he is independent. Number six, he values honesty and transparency. Number seven, he is intelligent. Number eight, you can depend on him. Number nine, he treats women with respect, which none of Richard Cooper's book was respectful to women. Let me not say none of it. Most of it wasn't respectful. So, number 10 is he has strong purpose in life. Number 11, he has integrity. That is huge. Integrity, a lot of what was said in the book lacked integrity. Number 12, he's a good communicator. Again, no gaslighting. So if a woman expresses her feelings, needs, desires to you, that's not drama. So just clarifying some of the things. And I think the core of what he was saying, like, I get it, but it can be taken the wrong way. So just having this conversation to clarify some of the things, I think, is really important. Number 13, he is a leader, and a true leader, and not someone telling men what to do and what not to do. And number 14, he constantly works on improving himself. So again, this was 30 traits. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can see the rest of them, but I just wanted to read the first 14. And to me, this is what an actual high value man is someone that has integrity, that respects women. And it's not about how much money you make, because money comes and goes, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You have seasons, you have business divorces, you have businesses that go under. And so if you're only basing your self-worth on how much money you're making, you don't have any self-worth, period. Like, you don't, because money comes and goes most of the time. So anything could happen. How many businesses closed during the pandemic? Like, anything could happen. Literally anything could happen. So you have to have self-worth that's based on more than just your net worth. So integrity is huge, respect is huge, communication is huge. To me, this is what a high value man is. And to me, if you want to be what they call an alpha man, it should be a man that is in his divine masculine. So there is a difference in toxic masculinity and divine masculinity, and women don't hate masculinity like he is trying to get people to believe. Women hate toxic masculinity, and they want a man in his divine masculine, and a man that's in his divine masculine has integrity, has respect, knows how to communicate. Like, these are things that indicate a high value man for real, and not just like this phase of whatever it is that we're going through.
I agree. I agree with that. And I think that what I would like to add to the high value conversation is this. You first have to know what your values are to understand what high value means to you. You know, high value to a woman who has a ton of money may not be somebody who's coming with a ton of money. It could be someone who understands that this woman has a ton of money and being able to still hold their own in a space where a woman is already established. That could be high value, right? So you got to first understand what you consider valuable to you, and then someone who highly represents what those compliments would be. So I think that that's really another thing as well. That list is great because those are more so characteristics versus things that they possess, right? You can't buy those things. You can't acquire those things. You have to earn or learn those things and be taught those things and work on those things within yourself. So I love that you chose those 14 things because they speak nothing to what the person has acquired and everything to what the person has done to better themselves. So I love those 14. So add those 14 to the high value. Once you understand your value, you may value artistry, in which case some people in the art field, art industry, don't really care about how much money you have, right? They're minimalistic and they just want somebody who will give them the love they need to support their dream. That's your high value. So don't look for anybody else's high value. Your high value matches your values.
I totally agree. And I always say on the podcast, like, identify your top three values and revisit it, because throughout different phases and chapters in life, it may change, it may shift. So always tweak it. But if you have those top three values and you're grounded in that, and as you go through life, you can always refer back to that. That's like your foundation. Then you'll be grounded in who you are. And I think that that's part of trusting your gut and trusting your intuition and trusting your instinct of knowing who you are, knowing what you want. So if you do listen to a book or read a book by someone like Richard Cooper, it's not going to have you write off some women that could really be good for you. So I think overall, a man seeking self-development is a great thing. And although he says, like, don't let a woman be your reason for being better, I think women do drive a lot of women do drive a lot of men to be like, they are the core reason why. So you can tell yourself it's not for women. But I think women definitely inspire men to be better. But ultimately, I feel like seeking self-development is a great thing. You have to do it for you and not for the woman. And when you're seeking self-development, being mindful of who you're seeking self-development from. And if you've had trauma and you've experienced any of the things that Richard Cooper has experienced that he shares in the book, therapy. Like, therapy is important. And a therapist is going to help you navigate some of those challenges to where you're not viewing life and women through a lens of trauma.
I love that. I love that. And I agree with that 100%. So, yeah, I'm grateful to just have been here and to share my perspective. And, I know that, this is going to be greeted with difference of opinions and they're welcomed. They're definitely welcomed. But I appreciate you including me in this conversation and, trusting me to share my perspective. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, I'm so grateful you came on, because I think that we needed a man perspective, and I do think that there aren't a lot of healthy examples of what it means to be a man, especially if a man didn't have a solid masculine figure in his life. You know, they are looking to people that may not be guiding them in the best way. So I definitely wanted to have this conversation with some masculine energy, some divine masculine energy. So I'm super grateful that you came on.
I'm glad as well. And if I may, I would like to extend that opportunity to men who are looking to seek that masculine figure or masculine guidance, and reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me. Just visit coachemery.com, go to the contact page, and just drop a little message in there like, hey, I'm looking to talk with you, or hey, I'm looking to work on some of the things in my life, and we'll have a conversation. Because I feel like, as a man, especially as a girl dad, my job is to make sure that I try to influence as many men as possible to counter some of the things that we are experiencing, and some of the things that, like what we just read, it's kind of leading you down a bad path, and it's going to make you resentful towards women. And you're reading these titles, and you're creating a preconceived notion of so many great people based off a title of a book from someone's experience. So I try to be very unbiased in my approach to pretty much everything. So not naive, but unbiased. Once I have enough facts to lean one way or the other, then I'll lean that way. But if you want to have a conversation, if you are a male and you're listening to this and you don't have someone healthy to talk to, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not a therapist, so I cannot diagnose you, or I cannot, guide you in that way, but I can have a man-to-man conversation with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to wrap it up by saying what we need is less boxes and more compassion. What we need is more true intuition of, like, if this person lights you up and this person feels good and this person feels like home, then you can work through everything else. So we need full acceptance, we need full compassion. And I think that the more an individual accepts and loves themselves, the more they can accept and love others. So if you're judging others harshly, you probably judge yourself harshly. And so I don't think this is a bad book. I think there's a lot of really good points, but it screams trauma to me, and it screams fear, and it screams control. And I I personally feel like if a man like truly resonates and follows this, they're viewing life through a lens of trauma. And we all have, because we all have situations that we've had to work through. But take your self-development a little bit deeper and seek out a coach or therapist that can help guide you. So this definitely wasn't to bash Richard. I hope that he is genuinely happy now. Sometimes we just need to share our stories. Sometimes we just need to be heard. So you're heard. We hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Big shout out to Richard Cooper. And I'm gonna look into his catalog and see if maybe there's a follow-up book to this, or he also mentioned his YouTube channel. So I'm gonna go check out some content on his YouTube channel, because he may have written this book right after a bad breakup or whatever. And he could have done some work since then. And he may be now he'll help him in a positive way. So big shout out to you, Richard, for first being bold enough to share your story.
Yeah.
All right. It takes a lot of guts to express and articulate the way you did. So kudos to you for having the ability to, or the the ability to do that within yourself. That's huge already. So I will be checking in to see what you're doing. And if you ever watch this, please feel free to, let's have a conversation. I would love to have a conversation.
He probably will be like, this girl with purple hair, no.
Right, she's a feminist and he's a
But oh my goodness. But speaking of books, go ahead and drop a little plug about your book.
Oh, me? A book? Oh, you think I got a book? So I do. It's called How I Lost My Mind and Why I'm Glad I Did. I can't get out the glare, but that's the book right there. Boom. It is on Amazon. If you search How I Lost My Mind and Why I'm Glad I Did, it is available on Amazon. And the book is actually about similar to things what we're talking about. My journey into finding the positive male role models that I needed in my life as a young man struggling to seek that, right? And the book just goes from my journey as a boy, experiencing things that young boys go through, and having really no positive male role models to bounce that information off of, and kind of finding the best way possible. It is a trilogy, so the book is a series. So the first book is out right now, and the second book is coming out very soon. But you can check that out, and you get a little bit of perspective into the mind of a young man who doesn't have a male influence, and you kind of can see how some of those things may transpire, and he may, without intervention, can become, a man who does look at some of these things in a way that we saw in the book.
Yeah. So I will definitely have the link for that in the show notes so you can check it out. And we have choice. We have choice. We can let our past lead us down a road of bitterness and hate and judgment, or we can learn from it, heal, grow, and empower others to be the best version of themselves. And in order to do that, we need compassion, we need acceptance, and we need love. So, on that note, thank you so much for listening to this very long podcast episode. So, I know when I get worked up, I can talk a lot. So thank you for bearing with me. And until next time, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.